And hi, this is Brass Check, and we're recording this on January 31st, 2024. We could have easily recorded this the day the story broke. It was obvious what was going on, but as you know, we have a lot of things on our plate, so we're only getting to it now. The very day that I'm going to call it the World Court, it's the International Court of Justice, but it's also known as the World Court, and it's easier to say. The World Court, by overwhelming majority declared that there is enough concern about what Israel is doing to provisionally call it a genocide and order Israel to cease and desist. The very day that came out, what was in the headlines? The fact that 12 members of the UN Relief Agency in the Palestine occupied territories and Gaza are alleged to have, quote, participated in the October 7th raid. And of course, the vagueness there is beyond belief. They are alleged, right? And participated. What does that mean? Shot people, held the door open, cheered, brought somebody a sandwich. It's not clear. In any event, there are 13,000 people that work for this agency in Gaza and the West Bank alone. Okay, so that's less than 1/10 of 1%. I guarantee 1/10 of 1% of all cops are pedophiles. I guarantee that. I guarantee. Well, we know from senators, based on the number of them that have been had to lose their position, way more than that are little criminals. So we don't abolish Senate. We don't abolish the House of Representatives because of the misbehavior of a minuscule percentage. What you do is you investigate and you punish those that have done wrongdoing. What you don't do is you stop the funding of the aid to the people that are being bombed, massacred, injured gravely, and starved to death. And it's over 2 million of them. But that's what the US did. That's what the UK did. That's what Australia did. I believe New Zealand was in it. Finland was in it. The Netherlands is in it. I mean, the depravity of this is literally beyond belief. This is Matthew Mark or Mark Matthew, some deviant, literally, who works for the State Department, and he's being asked about why the US is cutting off aid in this most dire situation on the basis of accusations against 12 people in an agency of 13,000. Does everybody get that? I'm bringing this up because I get the emails from all the deranged pro-genocide Zionists. I mean, that's what they are. They're pro-genocide Zionists who keep saying, look at this, look at that. Well, this was clearly done to take the World Court's judgment off the headlines and make this issue the issue, right? So nobody's talking about the fact that genocide is occurring. Nobody's talking about the fact that women and children are being murdered every day, having their limbs blown off, having to go to hospitals where there's no anesthesia and undergo amputation of their limbs. I mean, nobody's talking about this. Nobody's talking about the young mothers. You know, if you don't feed a young mother and the young mother is nursing, you have killed the baby. All right. So for all the people that are all up in arms about, you know, we've got to be pro-life and everything, where are they now? They're nowhere to be found. And of course, if you don't feed, you know, if there's no formula, if a woman is starving, she probably can't nurse. Does everybody understand that concept? And if a baby is not being fed, the baby will die. So we don't know how many hundreds or thousands, or maybe it'll be tens of thousands of infants that are going to die before this is over. Anyway, here's our grand U.S. State Department person letting you know what he feels and thinks about this.
Now, you're cutting off aid at a time when several human rights officials are really warning that Gaza is on the verge of starvation. You know? I mean, it's a real possibility. These people are facing famine and starvation, and you cut off aid, you know, because there is allegedly 12 people that are members of Hamas who have done this and so on, out of 12,000.
Okay, I want to point something out about this, right? There are, I don't know what the number is, it's approaching 30,000 killed, tens and tens of thousands of people gravely injured with no hope of medical care or only the most basic medical care, uh, people starving, and we're going to have more information about that shortly. Uh, and this guy's smiling. I want to play this back so that you can see his face.
It's a real possibility. These people are facing famine.
So he looks down. Did you notice that? I'm going to play that again. He's listening to the question.
It's a real possibility. These people.
All right. So this guy is saying these people are facing starvation, famine. So he looks down and then he looks up.
Are facing famine and starvation.
I think he's putting a concerned face on. I really think this is acting. All right. But watch his face now.
And you cut off aid, you know, because there is allegedly 12 people that are members of Hamas or.
What's the smile about? How is this a joke? And he continues to smile.
And this and so on. Out of 12,000 employees, you know, I mean, nobody talks about 158 employees employed by UNRWA that were killed by the Israelis. But
and again, this is a joke to him. 158 doctors, nurses, and medical assistants and relief workers working for this agency have been murdered. 158. And this provokes a smile on this guy's face.
You know, I want to go back to the issue of famine and the likelihood of starvation, famine, and so on.
The smile never leaves his face. Do you notice this?
What is your response to that?
So the humanitarian situation in Gaza is dire. You have seen us focus from the beginning of this conflict on trying to improve the humanitarian situation. You've seen the Secretary travel to Israel to press Israeli officials to allow more humanitarian assistance to flow into Gaza. We have a special envoy we appointed who is in the region working every day on increasing the amount of.
Okay. Whenever you hear a government official talking about how hard they're working and working every day, you know you're being screwed. However, in this case, they are facilitating a genocide, and genocide is a a technical term, but this is the murder of innocent people, and not a quick, painful death either. A lot of these people die as the result of grave injuries. A lot of these people are going to die as a result of starvation. A lot of these people are going to die as a result of illnesses caused by starvation and stress and lack of medical attention, right? So these are not, I guess the lucky ones are the ones that die instantly. Most will not. Most will die in agony. So this is what this guy claims that we're working hard to stop. Meanwhile, we are sending them container shiploads worth of ammunition. Were we to stop, were the UK, were Germany, I guess the Netherlands involved too, maybe that's why they think this is a big joke as well. Maybe if we were to stop providing ammunition, that would stop the slaughter right away. But instead, let's wrap our minds around this. They're ceasing the funding of the relief efforts to feed people, to bring water to people, and to bring just basic medical attention to people and housing. Don't forget, there's over 1 million people now homeless. And these are not people that can check into a motel, right? If homeless means homeless, and they need tents at a minimum. So let's go back to this deviant from the State Department.
Food and water and medicine that goes into Gaza. And you have heard us say, and the Secretary traveled and met with members of UNRWA in the region, how important the work that UNRWA is, or that UNRWA does, is to Gaza and to civilians in Gaza. And it's important that work be continued. And I would say it is because that work is so important that it is also important that UNRWA and the United Nations take this investigation seriously.
Okay, they have summarily dismissed, I think, 8 of the 12 accused. They've suspended 2, I forget the exact numbers, but they've addressed it instantly. Now, how fast does the U.S. address claims against it? How fast does Israel address claims against it? I mean, we have people being shot down in the street holding white flags, obviously unarmed. We have, 2,000-pound bombs being dropped in residential areas. When are those investigations going to be done? But meanwhile, it's okay to keep sending Israel an endless amount of ammunition. Again, the only word that comes to mind here is depravity. This is absolute depravity. And somebody wrote me the other day, and it's a good point. And I've given up on it, but maybe people shouldn't. Write your criminal, moronic congressman and senator, and let them know that this needs to be stopped now. And if it isn't, you're a one issue voter. Any senator or House of Representatives representative who is continuing to support this thing should be finished forever as a politician. They need to hear that. They need to hear the footsteps behind them. Otherwise, there's no penalty. They're getting paid by Israel by the boatload, right? They know that if they say anything, they're going to have to deal with the fury of this genocidal Zionist law, because that's what they are. We now know they're genocidal by provisional proclamation of the World Court, and they're clearly Zionists. They brag about it. By the way, these are not Jews. These are genocidal Zionists. Okay, not Jews. Genocidal Zionists. Israel is not a Jewish nation or a Jewish state. Israel is a genocidal Zionist state. Okay, so when your confused friends want to know what the deal is, just help them understand. Give them that basic distinction. There are thousands, hundreds of thousands of Jews around the world that are appalled by what's going on, and many thousands protesting against it. And to show you how well the genocidal Zionist lobby works, the Anti-Defamation League has declared Jews for Peace a hate organization. Okay, let me say that again. The Anti-Defamation League has declared Jews for Peace a hate organization. Okay, that's how sick and twisted these people are, and how sick and twisted our system is, because it's accepted. It's accepted by the New York Times. It's accepted by the Washington Post. It's accepted by the White House. It's accepted by most members of Congress. And that's the nature of the world we live in. So I've given you the State Department view, which is it's a joke to them. They're proud. I think they're proud of their little game, because this was coordinated between the genocidal Zionist state of Israel and the U.S. State Department and the New York Times and the Washington Post. Remember the case, and remember the South Africans came very well prepared with a superabundance of evidence. And what did the Israeli side come up with? Nothing. They had no answer to any of the claims. And then what happened? And why did they do that? Why did they do that? Because they knew they had a strategy to completely neutralize the court ruling. It didn't matter to them. They were prepared. And this is something, again, I absolutely guarantee that's what the State Department guy, when he was making all his trips back and forth to Israel, in addition to assuring them, we're going to send you all the bombs and tank rounds and missiles you need, and ammunition. We're never going to stop. So don't worry about that. They probably said, look, do some window dressing on this murder of civilians business, and don't worry about this court. Somebody cooked this up. Somebody cooked this up. Now, you have to understand the genocidal Zionist state of Israel has been saying for years that the UN relief effort is a thorn in their side. Why? Very simply, they're keeping Palestinians alive. Okay, and it's obvious, unless you have a serious mental deficiency, it is obvious this is a genocidal campaign. The goal is to kill as many Palestinians as possible. That's the goal. And then those that they don't kill, to evict from the country. And their other goal is to completely level everything. They've destroyed every university. They've destroyed every school. They've destroyed the majority of the hospitals. They've destroyed all the normal infrastructure. This is like a massive earthquake, except after the earthquake occurs, people are shooting at you and dropping bombs at you, and they have an iron wall around you to make sure you don't get food, water, and medical care. This is they're outdoing the Nazis, okay? Even the Nazis, in the depths of their depravity, wouldn't have dreamed to try to pull this off. but the genocidal Zionist state of Israel is rolling along. So here's somebody who has some expertise on this that can give some background to fill in the blanks. But basically, if you don't know what's going on, the World Court has said, yeah, South Africa, this sure looks and smells like genocide. Therefore, we are going to take action, which is to order Israel to stop. And the very day that that announcement came out, just like a jack in the box popping up, out comes this claim. We may find out like 3 years from now, the claim's bogus. Doesn't matter. It's in all the headlines. And the U.S. was well prepared, right? I mean, how often did the U.S. make a quick decision on anything internationally? I don't think they missed a beat. I think the second this allegation was announced, the U.S. came on board, and then all the despicable countries, the UK, what a horrific group of people, that government, and Australia, of course. I mean, you saw what it did to its own people. By the way, it's very interesting, right? The countries that most brutalized their own people during COVID are the ones that are in a big rush to murder as many Palestinians as they can, or facilitate the genocidal Zionist state of Israel into killing as many civilians as possible. It's the very same people. Anyway, here's somebody who's very knowledgeable about all these things, and she'll fill in any gaps that I left out.
So Israel announced allegations that 12 UNRWA staff were involved in the 7th of October attacks on the same day that the ICJ ruled it needed to protect civilian life in Gaza. In response, these countries have said that they will defund or pause their funding of UNRWA. So who's UNRWA and what's going on? Here are 4 things you should know. What is UNRWA? The United Nations Relief and Workers Agency for Palestinian Refugees, or UNRWA, was created by the UN in 1949 to assist approximately 700,000 Palestinians who fled or were displaced during the 1948 Nakba, when Israel was established. Today, UNRWA provides protection and assistance in healthcare, education, and essential services to approximately 6 million registered Palestinian refugees in Gaza, al-Dhaffa, al-Urdun, Lebanon, and Syria. Many hospitals, shelters, schools, and other centers run by UNRWA have been repeatedly hit by Israeli airstrikes in Gaza since the 7th of October, resulting in deaths of more than 152 UNRWA staff.
حرب إسرائيل على الأنروا واللاجئين ليست جديدة.
But why have Western countries chosen to pause their funding? Israeli authorities provided UNRWA with information that alleged that 12 UNRWA staff were involved in the 7th of October attacks. The allegations have still not been independently verified. UNRWA immediately fired the staff members and launched an investigation, and warned that a pause in their funding would lead to additional collective punishments for Palestinians in Gaza. According to a report by the UN in December, 93% of the people in Gaza are facing crisis levels of hunger, and a quarter of the population faces catastrophic hunger and starvation. Yet the biggest funders of UNRWA, the US, UK, Australia, Canada, Italy, Finland, and the Netherlands, have suspended their fundings. However, the US and some European countries still fund Israel, and specifically its bombing of Gaza. Is defunding a violation of the International Genocide Convention? The UN Special Rapporteur for the occupied Palestinian territories has said that defunding UNRWA could be violating the International Genocide Convention. UNRWA has said that the organization will run out of funds by February, which will lead to less food, healthcare, shelter, and hygiene within Gaza, where more than 1.7 million people have been displaced. Why does Israel have beef with UNRWA? Palestinian Prime Minister Mohammed Shtayyeh said,
إن تجميد مساعدات الأنروا هو تعطيل لقرار المحكمة الرامي لزيادة إدخال المساعدات الإغاثية لقطاع غزة، وسيكون له آثار مدمرة في نفوس المحتاجين من أهلنا هناك.
In 2018, Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu said,
אונר"א הוא ארגון שמנציח את בעיית הפליטים הפלסטינים, והוא גם מנציח את הנרטיב של זכות השיבה כביכול במטרה לחסל את מדינת ישראל.
So, Is this about self-defense? Or does Israel want to strike a blow against a UN agency that provides vital care to 6 million Palestinian refugees?
All right, so there you have it. This is an organization that was founded specifically to help the hundreds of thousands of people that were thrown out of their homes in 1949. And these were rural people largely. So it wasn't just their homes, it was their farms, it was their livelihood, it was their way of life. And for all the right-wingers out there or conservative people that think they're conservative and are supporting this, you're not thinking too clearly. How would you like it if the UN decided, let's say, you live in Missouri, and the US decided that the world needs a home for, Turkmenistanish people, right? They just need a homeland because they've had a rough time. So they deserve a homeland. So the UN is going to make a gift of Missouri to these people. And you are going to have to pick up and leave your home, right? Leave your community, leave maybe you own a business, maybe you have a farm, your place of worship is there, or your family is there. And you're not just going to be able to get in, book a flight or something. They're coming for you with guns. And if they don't get you directly, they're going to massacre the village or the town right up the street and let you know if you don't leave now on foot, because these people didn't have cars in 1949. If you don't leave right now on foot, you're going to be next. How would that play for you if that was your life, right? So that's why this particular agency was created, to deal with the catastrophe, the Nakba, which is the word for catastrophe, that the UN and the British created. And now there are millions of Palestinian people, again, people that have roots in Palestine, have lived there for generations, had farms, had olive groves, and all the other things that people do there to survive. There are now 6 million of these people who can't return to their homes. And so what has the glorious United States decided to do, United States government? They've decided, based on allegations against 12 of 13,000 employees, to stop aid to these people. Now, it's so interesting. So just so you got this straight, the U.S. can afford to spend billions of dollars of your money sending more missiles, bombs, and tank rounds to Israel so they can continue what the World Court has called a genocide provisionally. They've been told to stop killing civilians. They've been told to stop about 12 other things. The U.S. can afford to do that, even though the World Court has made its judgment. But based on the allegation that 12 out of 13,000 employees were involved in the October 7th mission, that's enough to starve people to death, and to make sure that the next round of kids that need their limbs amputated don't have anesthesia. I mean, do we get any sicker than this? I guess not. I guess not. And it's the same, again, I got to, the reason we're covering this story, well, first it has to be covered. And why we're double timing it around here. So we're still doing breakthrough research on all the COVID criminality. But it's the same group of players. It's the US, it's the UK, it's Australia, it's the Netherlands, apparently Canada. I don't know if Finland was a bad player in COVID, but probably they were. But it's the same people, and it's the same lying, irrationality, things that make absolutely no sense, that will persist. Like, they're not going to stop. They're not going to let up. Just like they didn't let up with COVID, they are not going to let up with the destruction, the genocidal destruction of the people living in Gaza. They're not going to let up. Nothing's going to stop them. So if you think it will help, write your congressman, write your senator. Most of them are in the pocket of Israel. Excuse me, not Israel, the genocidal Zionist state of Israel. Most of them are in the pocket. The rest of them are just running scared. There's a few like Bernie. God bless Bernie. Uh, he started out as an idiot, and then he woke up. There's some other people who need to wake up too. I just don't know. I mean, how much worse can how much more blatantly evil can this be than it already is? And yet, remember now, the New York Times and CNN and the Washington Post and the U.S. State Department and the White House and both houses of Congress and both parties, they're all on board with this. They're all on board with this. And millions of useful idiots just keeping their head down because you know why? They don't want to be disinvited to their cocktail parties. That's what this boils down to for a lot of people. They don't want to be disinvited to the cocktail parties. So they're going to say nothing. I mean, I don't know. I could go on and on about this, but I think you get the point when your idiot friends and family members and community members say, "Oh, well, look at this." Well, tell them, "Well, gee, there's 13,000 people working for this group, and these are 12 accusations." So how do you stop feeding and providing water and providing medical care to over 2 million people that are under 24-hour-a-day bombardment based on accusations against 12 under, nobody accused higher ups. Nobody said that there's a conspiracy. There's just 12 bad apples at best. And look at the coincidence. The day that the World Court points out to the world that, yes, South Africa's claim is valid, this gives every appearance of being a genocide. And let's remember what a genocide is. A genocide is you intend and you state that you are going to kill innocent people in an attempt to wipe out as many of them as you possibly can. That's what a genocide, I mean, you actually do it, right? So that's what they're doing. That's what they're doing. And your US government and your news media and all these other governments are essentially cheering along. And that's the story. So to the best of your ability, try to relate this to your pathetically ignorant and morally bankrupt friends and neighbors. This is such an obvious issue. There's really, I mean, it's almost unbelievable that we have to come out here and discuss this constantly. You don't kill civilians. You don't kill children. You don't deprive people of food and water. You don't dance around. And there's hundreds of hours of video of Israeli soldiers, of Israeli civilians on TikTok, just dancing around like this is a big joke. And then you have the comments of the people who are supposedly authorities in Israel, basically backing everything up. And then you have the people in the United States going, see no evil, hear no evil. October 7th, Israel must defend itself. Unbelievable. Unbelievable.